Billionaire collapses in a cafe, then a black waitress's next move saved his life. The moment Roman Vale hit the floor, I knew someone had tried to kill him. I didn't know his name yet. Didn't know he was worth $9 billion or that his face had graced the cover of Forbes 3 times in 2 years. Didn't know that saving his life would put a target on my back so precise, so deadly, that within 72 hours I'd be running for my life through the rain-soaked streets of Seattle with assassins on my heels. All I knew was this: the man in the $1,000 suit was dying on the cafe floor, and I was the only person in that room who could stop it. But let me back up. Let me tell you how a Tuesday morning destroyed the quiet, invisible life I'd spent 3 years building. Hey, beautiful souls! Welcome back to the channel, or if you're new here, welcome to a story that's about to take you on an emotional rollercoaster you won't forget. I'm so glad you're here. Drop a comment below and let me know where you're watching from. Are you Team Coffee or Team Tea? And if you haven't subscribed yet, what are you waiting for? Hit that button, because trust me, you're going to want to see how this story unfolds. Now, let's dive in. 5:47 a.m. Seabrook Café, Seattle. The espresso machine hissed like a rattlesnake as I pulled another double shot, the bitter aroma cutting through the cool morning air. My hands moved on autopilot: grind, tamp, pull, steam. I'd done this dance 1,000 times. Maybe 10,000. The cafe was mine for another 13 minutes before Gus, the owner, shuffled in smelling like cigarettes and regret. 13 minutes of peace before the morning rush turned the Seabrook into a circus of impatient lawyers, sleepless medical residents, and tourists who thought Seattle was just so charming in the rain. I loved these quiet moments. The cafe sat on the corner of Pine and Melrose, a brick and glass relic that somehow survived 3 recessions and the Starbucks invasion. Mismatched furniture. Walls covered in local art that never sold. A chalkboard menu I rewrote every morning in my neatest handwriting, even though nobody ever ordered anything except lattes and blueberry muffins. It wasn't much. But it was predictable. Safe. Invisible. And after everything I'd lost, invisible was exactly what I needed. I wiped down the counter, my reflection staring back at me from the chrome espresso machine, dark skin, pulled back curls, exhaustion living permanently in my eyes. Maya Ellis. 27 years old. Former med student. Current nobody. I shook the thought away. Focus, Maya. Milk. Sugar. Napkins. Keep moving. The bell above the door chimed. I glanced up, ready to offer my customer service smile, the one that didn't reach my eyes but fooled most people. And that's when he walked in. Roman Vale didn't walk. He entered. Like the air in the room rearranged itself to accommodate him. Tall, maybe 6'2". Broad shoulders beneath a charcoal suit so perfectly tailored it looked painted on. Dark hair swept back with that effortless precision rich people somehow mastered. Sharp jawline. Cold blue eyes that scanned the cafe like he was calculating its net worth and finding it disappointing. He moved with the kind of confidence that came from never hearing the word no. And he looked wrong. I couldn't put my finger on it at first. But something in the way he gripped the back of a chair, white-knuckled, subtle, set off alarm bells I thought I'd silenced years ago. "Morning," I said, grabbing my notepad. "What can I get you?" His eyes cut to me. For a half-second, something flickered there of surprise, maybe? Like he wasn't used to being spoken to so casually. "Black coffee," he said. His voice was deep, clipped. "East Coast education with West Coast money. Dark roast. No sugar. Coming right up." I turned toward the coffee station, but I kept him in my peripheral vision. There it is again. He pressed 2 fingers to his temple, jaw tightening. A bead of sweat tracked down the side of his face despite the cafe's cool temperature. Headache? Migraine? He sat down heavily, elbows on the table, head bowed. I poured his coffee, my hand steady even as my instincts, the ones I buried under 3 years of aprons and serving trays, started whispering. Pale skin. Diaphoresis. Sudden onset. Neurological involvement. Stop it, Maya. You're not a doctor. You're a waitress. Mind your business. I brought the coffee over, setting it down gently. Here you go. You need anything else? He didn't look up. No. But his hand trembled as he reached for the cup. I should have walked away. Should have gone back behind the counter, restocked the pastry case, minded my own damn business like I'd promised myself I would for the rest of my unremarkable life. But then he tried to stand. And his legs gave out. Roman Vale, billionaire, empire builder, man who probably hadn't stumbled since he was 2, crashed into the table. Coffee exploded across the surface. The chair clattered sideways. And he went down. Hard. The sound his body made hitting the tile floor was something I'll never forget. A wet, heavy thud that sent ice down my spine. Customers gasped. Phones came out immediately, because of course they did. Nobody helps anymore. They just film. I was already moving. Call 911. I shouted, dropping to my knees beside him. Roman was convulsing. His back arched, muscles seizing, eyes rolling back until only the white showed. Foam flecked the corners of his mouth. Seizure. Tonic-clonic. Possible toxin. Status epilepticus if it doesn't stop in 90 seconds. My hands moved before my brain caught up. I rolled him onto his side, recovery position, and checked his airway. Clear. I pressed 2 fingers to his carotid. Pulse, thready, rapid, inconsistent. Shit. Someone get me a pillow. I barked. And clear this space, move back. A teenager in a hoodie shoved a couch cushion at me. I tucked it under Roman's head, keeping him stable as his body jerked violently. The seizure lasted 43 seconds. I counted every one. When it stopped, he went terrifyingly still. Too still. I checked his pulse again. Nothing. No. No, no, no. Is he breathing? A woman's voice, shrill with panic. I tilted his head back, opened his airway, and put my ear to his mouth. No breath sounds. No chest rise. He's in cardiac arrest. The world narrowed to a pinpoint. The screaming customers, the flashing phone cameras, the bell above the door chiming as someone ran outside, it all disappeared. There was only this, a dying man. And me. I laced my fingers together, positioned my hands over his sternum, and started compressions. 1, 2, 3, 4. Come on, I whispered. Come on, don't you dare. 17, 18, 19, 20. His chest was solid beneath my palms. I could feel ribs flexing with each compression, deep enough to circulate blood, controlled enough not to break bones. 28, 29, 30. I tilted his head back, pinched his nose, and gave 2 rescue breaths. His chest rose. Good. Back to compressions. 1, 2, 3. Where the hell are the paramedics? Someone shouted. They're coming, another voice answered. I didn't stop. Couldn't stop. Because somewhere beneath my hands, Roman Vale's heart was still trying to beat. And I'd be damned if I let him die on this floor. 15. 16. 17. And then. His body jerked. A choking gasp ripped from his throat. I stopped compressions immediately, rolling him back onto his side as he coughed violently, his whole body shuddering. His eyes cracked open, glassy, unfocused, but alive. And they locked onto mine. For one impossible, suspended moment, the world held its breath. He stared at me like I was the only solid thing in a collapsing universe. Like I was an anchor. A lifeline. Like I was the reason he was still breathing. "You're okay," I whispered, my voice shaking now that the adrenaline was crashing. "You're okay. Help is coming." His lips moved. Barely a sound. But I heard it. "Who?" "Maya," I said softly. "My name is Maya." His eyes fluttered shut. And then the paramedics burst through the door. They took over with efficient, practiced chaos, backboard, for oxygen mask. I stepped back, my hand still trembling, my scrubs, wait, no. My apron. My apron was soaked with spilled coffee and sweat. I wasn't wearing scrubs. I wasn't a doctor. I was just a waitress who remembered too much. One of the paramedics glanced at me. "You do CPR?" I nodded. "Good work. You saved his life." They loaded Roman onto the gurney and wheeled him out, sirens wailing into the grey Seattle morning. And I stood there in the middle of the cafe, surrounded by shocked customers and shattered coffee cups, trying to remember how to breathe. Gus appeared beside me, his grizzled face pale. "Maya, what the hell just happened?" I looked down at my hands. They were still steady. But inside? Inside, every wall I'd built was starting to crack. "I don't know," I whispered. But that was a lie. Because deep down, in the part of me I'd tried to bury, I knew exactly what had happened. Someone had poisoned Roman Vale. And I'd just made myself the only witness who could prove it. I didn't go home after my shift. Couldn't. The adrenaline was still burning through my veins like acid, and my hands, the ones that had been so steady on Roman Vale's chest, wouldn't stop shaking now that the crisis was over. Gus sent me home early. Didn't even argue when I untied my apron with trembling fingers and mumbled something about needing air. He just nodded, his weathered face creased with concern, and told me to take tomorrow off too if I needed it. I needed it. But I couldn't afford it. So instead of going back to my cramped studio apartment in Beacon Hill, I found myself walking. Just walking. Through Pike Place Market, past the gum wall that always made tourists squeal and locals roll their eyes, down toward the waterfront where the sound stretched out grey and infinite. The rain started around noon, because of course it did. This was Seattle. The rain was as reliable as heartbreak. I pulled my hood up and kept walking, my sneakers splashing through puddles, my mind replaying the same 10 minutes over and over again. Roman's eyes rolling back. His pulse disappearing under my fingers. That terrible, weightless moment when I thought I'd lost him. I'd saved his life. And I had absolutely no idea what that meant for mine. By the time I finally made it home, it was almost 3 p.m. My phone had died an hour ago. I'd forgotten to charge it last night because I'd been up until 2 a.m. helping my little sister Zoe with her algebra homework. Zoe. Shit. I took the stairs 2 at a time up to our 3rd floor walk up, my heart pounding for entirely different reasons now. Zoe was 14, old enough to get herself home from school, but young enough that the world still felt like a dangerous place full of people who wanted to take her away from me. People like Child Protective Services. People like our aunt who tried to get custody after Mom died, not because she loved Zoe, but because she loved the social security checks. People like the foster system that had nearly swallowed us both whole 3 years ago until I'd fought my way out with paperwork, lawyer consultations I couldn't afford, and a desperation that bordered on feral. I unlocked the door and stepped inside. Zoe? In here. Relief flooded through me. I followed her voice into our Showbox living room, barely big enough for the sagging couch I'd gotten off Craigslist and the coffee table Zoe used for homework. She was sprawled across the floor, textbooks scattered around her like casualties, her box braids tied up in a messy bun. She looked up at me with those big brown eyes, Mom's eyes, and grinned. "You're home early. Gus finally fire you for being too good at your job?" I managed a weak smile. Something like that. Zoe's grin faded. She sat up, her expression shifting into that too adult concern that broke my heart every time I saw it. 14-year-olds shouldn't have to read their older sisters like weather patterns, looking for storms. What happened? She asked quietly. I should have lied. Should have told her everything was fine, that I just had a headache, that Gus was being generous. But Zoe had a finely tuned bullshit detector. 3 years of instability had taught her to spot lies from a mile away. Something happened at work, I said carefully, dropping my bag by the door. A customer collapsed. I helped him until the paramedics came. Zoe's eyes widened. Oh my God. Is he okay? I think so. They took him to the hospital. Did you do CPR? I hesitated. Then nodded. Zoe was quiet for a moment, processing. Then she said, softly, you used to want to be a doctor. My chest tightened. Used to. Past tense. Because I had wanted to be a doctor. More than anything. I'd been pre-med at UW, top of my class, volunteering at Harborview Medical Center every spare moment I had. I'd been good. Really good. Until Mom got sick. Until the medical bills started piling up like snow in a blizzard. Until I had to choose between student loans and Mom's experimental treatment. Until Mom died anyway, and I was left with a 14-year-old sister, $47,000 in debt, and a medical school acceptance letter I couldn't afford to accept. I'd withdrawn from UW 3 weeks before Mom's funeral. Never went back. Yeah, I said quietly, sitting down on the couch. I did. Zoe crossed the room and sat beside me, tucking herself under my arm the way she used to when she was little and scared of thunderstorms. You saved someone's life today, she whispered. That's pretty badass, Maya. I kissed the top of her head, breathing in the coconut scent of her leave-in conditioner. Just did what anyone would do, I murmured. But we both knew that wasn't true. Because everyone else in that cafe had stood there filming. I was the only one who'd moved. That night, I couldn't sleep. I lay in my bed, which was really just a mattress on the floor in the corner of the studio, separated from Zoe's area by a curtain I'd hung from the ceiling, and stared at the water-stained ceiling. My phone, finally charged, sat on the milk crate I used as a nightstand. I'd been avoiding it all evening. But curiosity was a relentless thing. I picked it up and opened Google. Typed, Roman Vale. The search results exploded across my screen. Roman Vale, billionaire tech mogul, CEO of Vale Tech Industries. Net worth, $9.2 billion. Age, 34. Known for hostile takeovers, revolutionary AI software, and a complete absence of public sentiment. I scrolled through images. Professional headshots showing a man with sharp features and colder eyes than I remembered. Candid shots at charity galas where he stood apart from everyone else, drink in hand, expression unreadable. A Forbes cover, the man who feels nothing, inside Roman Vale's empire. I clicked on an article from 6 months ago. Roman Vale, genius or sociopath. Insiders describe Vale as brilliant but ruthless. He doesn't have friends, one former executive said on condition of anonymity. He has assets and liabilities. If you're not useful, you don't exist. Vale's estranged relationship with his family is well documented. His father, billionaire real estate mogul Jonathan Vale, hasn't spoken to him in 5 years following a public dispute over the family company. His younger brother, Adrian, was recently cut from the Vale Tech board after a failed attempt to vote Roman out as CEO. Roman trusts no one, another source revealed. Not his family. Not his employees. Maybe not even himself. I set the phone down, my stomach churning. This was the man whose life I'd saved? A corporate shark with no friends, no family, and apparently no heart? Why does that matter? A voice in my head whispered. A life is a life. You don't get to choose who deserves saving. I knew that voice. It was the part of me that still thought like a doctor. The part that remembered the Hippocratic oath I'd never gotten to take. First, do no harm. I'd done the opposite of harm today. I'd fought death itself and won. So why did I feel like I'd just made the biggest mistake of my life? The answer came at 6:47 the next morning. I was in the cafe. Gus had texted me at 5 a.m. saying he needed me for the morning shift because his other waitress called in sick when the bell above the door chimed. I glanced up from the espresso machine, expecting the usual crowd. Instead, I found myself staring at three men in dark suits who absolutely did not belong in the Seabrook Cafe. They moved like soldiers, scanned the room like threats, and all of them had earpieces. The one in front, tall, black, with a scar cutting through his left eyebrow, locked eyes with me. "Maya Ellis?" he asked. My blood turned to ice. "Who's asking?" I managed, my voice steadier than I felt. "My name is Joseph Matsumoto," he said, pulling out a badge. "Private security, not police. I work for Roman Vale. Mr. Vale has requested your presence." The cafe went silent. Gus appeared from the back, wiping his hands on his apron. "Maya? You okay?" I couldn't look away from Joseph's intense gaze. "Requested?" I repeated. "I'm working. Mr. Vale is prepared to compensate both you and your employer for your time. Generously." Joseph's expression didn't change. "This isn't optional, Ms. Ellis." My hands curled into fists. "Not optional. 3 years. 3 years of keeping my head down, staying invisible, building a life where no one noticed me and nothing unexpected happened. And now a billionaire I'd saved from dying was summoning me like I was an employee. If I refuse?" I asked quietly. Joseph's expression flickered. Was that respect, before returning to neutral? "Mr. Vale was poisoned yesterday morning, Ms. Ellis. Someone tried to kill him. You're the only witness who had direct contact with him before he collapsed. For your own safety, we need to bring you in." The world tilted. Poisoned. I'd known. Somewhere deep down, I'd known. But hearing it confirmed out loud made it real in a way that turned my stomach inside out. "Am I in danger?" I whispered. Joseph's silence was answer enough. Behind me, Gus swore softly. I looked back at him, and he nodded. "Go. I've got the cafe. Just be careful, kid." I untied my apron with numb fingers. "Zoe." I had to call Zoe. Had to make sure she was safe, that whatever storm was brewing around Roman Vale didn't touch her. "I need to make a phone call first," I said. Joseph nodded. "Make it quick. We have a car waiting." I stepped outside, my hand shaking as I dialed Zoe's number. She answered on the second ring. "Maya? I'm literally about to walk into school. What?" "Listen to me," I cut her off, my voice urgent. "Something's happened. I need you to go straight to school, stay there until I call you, and don't talk to anyone you don't know." "Okay?" Silence. "Then, you're scaring me." "I know. I'm sorry. I'll explain everything later. Just promise me." "I promise." Her voice was small. "Maya, are you okay?" I looked at the black SUV idling at the curb. At the 3 security guards who'd arranged themselves around me like a human shield. At the life I'd built crumbling in real time. Yeah, I lied. "I'm okay. I love you." "Love you too." I hung up and turned to Joseph. "Let's go." The SUV was exactly what I expected, leather interior, tinted windows, absolute silence except for the low hum of the engine. Joseph sat across from me, his expression unreadable. The other 2 guards sat up front. "Where are we going?" I asked. "Vale Tech headquarters. Mr. Vale is working from his private office today. He's not in the hospital. He discharged himself against medical advice 6 hours after admission." Of course he did. I stared out the window as Seattle blurred past, the familiar streets of my neighborhood giving way to the gleaming high-rises of downtown. "Can I ask you something?" I said quietly. Joseph nodded. Why does he want to see me? If this is about the poisoning, shouldn't I be talking to the police? Joseph's jaw tightened. Mr. Vale doesn't trust the police. He has reason to believe the attempt on his life came from inside his organization. Until we know who's responsible, he's handling this privately. My stomach dropped. And me. You saved his life, Ms. Ellis. That makes you both a valuable witness. He paused. And a potential target. A target. The words hung in the air like smoke. I'd saved Roman Vale's life. And now someone might want to end mine. Vale Tech Industries occupied floors 30 through 45 of the Columbia Tower, Seattle's tallest building. The lobby was all glass and steel and cold, minimalist elegance that screamed money. Joseph guided me through security, retinal scanners, metal detectors, guards who looked like they ate nails for breakfast, and into a private elevator. We rode up in silence. My reflection stared back at me from the polished elevator doors, a black woman in jeans and a hoodie, her hair pulled back in a simple ponytail, drowning in a world of tailored suits and corporate power. I didn't belong here. But the elevator doors opened anyway, depositing me directly into what could only be described as a penthouse office. Floor-to-ceiling windows overlooked the entire city. The Space Needle looked like a toy from this height. The sound stretched out silver and vast. And sitting behind a massive desk made of dark wood and sharp edges was Roman Vale. He looked better than yesterday. The color had returned to his face. His hair was perfectly styled again. He wore another suit, navy this time, with a white shirt open at the collar. But his eyes. God, his eyes. They were the same cold blue I'd seen in photographs, but now there was something else there. Something sharp and assessing and almost vulnerable. He stood when he saw me. Ms. Ellis, he said. His voice was exactly as I remembered, deep, controlled, commanding. Thank you for coming. Coming. Like I'd had a choice. You didn't really give me an option, I said, proud of how steady my voice sounded. The corner of his mouth twitched. Almost a smile. Almost. No, he agreed. I didn't. He gestured to the chair across from his desk. Please. Sit. I sat today. He remained standing, studying me with an intensity that made my skin prickle. I owe you my life, he said finally. You don't owe me anything. I did what anyone would. No. He cut me off, his voice sharp. You did what no one else did. While 20 people stood there filming, you acted. You saved me. He paused. Why? I blinked. Why? Yes. Why risk yourself for a stranger? What did you stand to gain? I stared at him, genuinely confused. Gain? I wasn't trying to gain anything. You were dying. What was I supposed to do, let you? He looked almost surprised. Like altruism was a foreign language he'd never learned to speak. Most people would have, he said quietly. And in that moment, I saw past the expensive suit and the billionaire armor. I saw a man who genuinely believed no one would save him unless there was something in it for them. My heart cracked just a little. Well, I'm not most people, I said softly. Roman stared at me for a long moment. Then he sat down, leaning back in his chair, his expression unreadable once more. No, he murmured. You're certainly not. He opened a drawer and pulled out a file folder. Set it on the desk between us. Maya Ellis. 27. Former pre-med student at University of Washington. Withdrew in your junior year. Currently employed at Seabrook Café. Guardian to your 14-year-old sister, Zoe. He looked up. Did I miss anything? Anger flashed through me, hot and sudden. You had me investigated. Of course I did. Someone tried to kill me yesterday. I needed to know who you were. I'm a waitress, I said through gritted teeth. Not an assassin. I know that now. He pushed the folder toward me. I also know you're drowning in medical debt. That you work 60-hour weeks to keep your sister out of foster care. That you were brilliant enough to get into medical school but couldn't afford to stay. Humiliation burned through me like fire. He knew everything. Every failure. Every desperate choice. Why am I here, Mr. Vale? I asked, my voice tight. Because you're in danger, he said bluntly. Whoever poisoned me knows you saved my life. They know you have medical training. They know you might have seen something, noticed something that could identify them. And they know that makes you a liability. My blood ran cold. What are you saying? I'm saying I'm assigning you a security detail. Effective immediately. I stood up so fast the chair scraped backward. Absolutely not. Roman's eyes narrowed. This isn't a request. I don't care. My voice rose. I have a life, Mr. Vale. A sister who needs me. I can't just disappear into your billionaire witness protection program. Then what's your alternative? He stood too, leaning forward, his hands braced on the desk. Go home? Pretend yesterday didn't happen? Wait for someone to come after you. No one's coming after me. I'm nobody. You stopped being nobody the moment you put your hands on my chest and restarted my heart. The words hit me like a physical blow. Silence filled the office. Roman's expression softened, just slightly. Just enough that I could see the man beneath the armor. I don't want you hurt because you saved my life, he said quietly. Let me protect you. Please. That last word cost him something. I could see it in the way his jaw tightened. Roman Vale didn't say please very often. I sank back into the chair, my legs suddenly unsteady. What about Zoe? I whispered. We'll protect her too. I'll assign a security team to her school. To your apartment. Anywhere you need. I looked up at him, this powerful, dangerous man who'd crashed into my life like a meteor. Why? I asked. Why do you care this much? Roman was quiet for a long moment. Then he said, because when I opened my eyes on that cafe floor, you were the first person I saw. And for the first time in 15 years. I didn't see someone trying to use me. I saw someone trying to save me. His voice cracked on that last word. Just barely. But I heard it. And I realized something that terrified me. Roman Vale was just as broken as I was. Just in a completely different way. Okay, I whispered. Okay. I'll accept your protection. But I'm not hiding. I still need to work. I still need to take care of my sister. Roman nodded slowly. Agreed. But you do things my way. You follow my security protocols. And you tell me everything you remember from yesterday morning. I took a shaky breath. Deal. Roman extended his hand across the desk. I stared at it for a heartbeat, this simple gesture that somehow felt monumental, then reached out and shook it. His hand was warm. Strong. And his grip lingered just a half-second longer than necessary. Our eyes met. And for one impossible moment, the air between us felt electric. Then Joseph cleared his throat from the doorway, I hadn't even heard him come back in, and the spell broke. Roman released my hand and stepped back, his expression shuttering closed once more. Joseph will take you home, he said briskly. A security team will be in place within the hour. I'll be in touch. It was a dismissal. I stood, my legs still unsteady, and turned toward the door. Ms. Ellis? I looked back. Roman was watching me with an expression I couldn't quite read. Thank you, he said quietly. For yesterday. I nodded. And walked out of his office knowing with absolute certainty that my life would never be the same. The security team showed up at my apartment exactly 53 minutes later. 2 guards, one posted in the hallway outside my door, another in an unmarked car on the street below. Joseph had explained the protocols during the drive home. I was to report any unusual activity, any strangers, any gut feelings that something was wrong. Mr. Vale takes threats seriously, Joseph had said as we pulled up to my building. Don't underestimate what we're dealing with. I wanted to argue. Wanted to insist this was all overkill. But the look in Joseph's eyes stopped me. He'd seen things. Done things. And whatever threat we were facing was real enough that a man who protected billionaires for a living was genuinely concerned. So I nodded. Thanked him. And climbed the 3 flights to my apartment with legs that felt like lead. Zoe was already home. I'd texted her that everything was fine, that I'd explain when I got there, and the moment I opened the door, she launched herself at me. What the hell, Maya? I wrapped my arms around her, breathing in the familiar scent of her shampoo. I'm okay. I promise. She pulled back, her eyes searching my face. You're not okay. You look like you've seen a ghost. Close enough. I guided her to the couch and told her everything. The poisoning. Roman's investigation. The security detail. I watched her face cycle through shock, fear, and then, unexpectedly, anger. This is insane, she said, standing up and pacing our tiny living room. You saved his life and now you're a target? That's not fair. Life's not fair, Zoe. You know that. Don't. She spun to face me, tears glistening in her eyes. Don't do that thing where you act like this is fine. This is not fine. What if something happens to you? What happens to me? The question hung between us like broken glass. Because we both knew the answer. If something happened to me, Zoe went into the system. Foster care. The thing we'd fought like hell to avoid. I stood and crossed to her, cupping her face in my hands. Nothing is going to happen to me. Roman Vale has an entire security team keeping us safe. We're going to be fine. You don't know that. No, I admitted. But I'm choosing to believe it anyway. Zoe's lip trembled. Then she threw her arms around me again and held on tight. We stayed like that for a long time. That night, I couldn't sleep again. I lay in the dark, listening to Zoe's soft breathing from her side of the apartment, and tried to process everything that had happened in the last 36 hours. My phone buzzed. I grabbed it, expecting a text from Gus or maybe one of Zoe's school notifications. Instead, I found a message from an unknown number. Unknown, this is Roman. Joseph gave me your number. Are you awake? My heart kicked against my ribs. I stared at the screen for a full minute before typing back. Me, yes. Can't sleep. Roman, neither can I. Me, occupational hazard of almost dying? Roman, something like that. A pause. Then. Roman, I wanted to apologize for this afternoon. I know having your privacy invaded isn't pleasant. But I needed to know who you were. Me, I get it. Someone tried to kill you. Trust is probably in short supply. Roman, trust is non-existent. Present company potentially excluded. I read that message 3 times, my chest tightening. Me, potentially? Roman, you haven't asked for anything. Everyone asks for something. Me, maybe I'm playing the long game. Roman, are you? Me, no. I just wanted you to live. Another long pause. I could almost feel him on the other end, processing, analyzing. Roman, why medicine? Before you had to leave school. The question caught me off guard. Me, my mom was sick. Cancer. I watched doctors fight for her and I wanted to be able to do that for other people. Save them the way I couldn't save her. Roman, I'm sorry. Me too. Roman, for what it's worth, you would have made an excellent doctor. Tears pricked my eyes. I blinked them back. Me, would have. Past tense. Roman, doesn't have to be. I frowned at my phone. Me, what does that mean? Roman, we'll talk tomorrow. Get some sleep, Maya. Me, you too, Roman. I set my phone down, my mind racing. What the hell did he mean by that? The answer came the next morning. I was getting ready for my shift at the cafe. Roman's security team had cleared it, said I could maintain my normal routine as long as I stayed alert when someone knocked on my door. I checked the peephole. A woman stood in the hallway. Mid-40s, sharp suit, carrying a leather briefcase. One of the security guards stood beside her, nodding slightly. I opened the door. Can I help you? The woman smiled. Professional, warm. Maya Ellis? My name is Catherine Strathairn. I'm an attorney with Vale Industries. May I come in? My stomach dropped. What's this about? Mr. Vale asked me to speak with you regarding a proposal. Zoe appeared behind me, still in her pajamas, eyes wide. Maya? It's okay, I said, though I had no idea if that was true. Go get ready for school. She hesitated, then disappeared into the bathroom. I stepped aside and let Catherine in. She sat on our worn couch like it was a throne, opened her briefcase, and pulled out a document. Mr. Vale has authorized me to make you an offer, she said, sliding the papers across the coffee table. He'd like to hire you. I stared at her. Hire me? For what? As his personal medical consultant. Given yesterday's incident, Mr. Vale has realized he needs someone with medical expertise on his immediate team. Someone he can trust. My mouth went dry. He wants me to work for him. Yes. The position comes with a salary of $180,000 per year, full benefits, and she pulled out another document, a signing bonus that will cover your outstanding medical debt in full. The room tilted. $180,000. My debt. Gone. This is... I couldn't find words. This is insane. Catherine's expression didn't change. Mr. Vale doesn't make offers lightly. He believes you're uniquely qualified for this position. I'm a waitress. I didn't even finish medical school. You saved his life. That's qualification enough. I looked down at the contract, my hands shaking. This was everything I dreamed of. Financial security. A way to give Zoe the life she deserved. A chance to use my medical training again. But nothing came without a price. What's the catch? I asked quietly. Catherine smiled. No catch. Though the position does require you to be available to Mr. Vale at all times. You'd be working closely with him. Very closely. Something in the way she said it made my pulse quicken. I need time to think, I said. Of course. Mr. Vale said you'd say that. Catherine stood, smoothing her skirt. He's asked that you join him for dinner tonight. 7 p.m. Address is on the card. She handed me a business card, heavy stock, embossed letters. An address in Madison Park. One of Seattle's wealthiest neighborhoods. He wants to discuss the offer in person, Catherine continued. And there's something else he needs to tell you. Something about the investigation. Ice flooded my veins. What? He'll explain tonight. But Maya? Her expression turned serious. Whatever you're imagining, it's worse. And with that cryptic statement, she left. I stood in my tiny apartment, holding a contract that could change my life and a business card that felt like an invitation to something far more dangerous than a job. Zoe emerged from the bathroom, fully dressed now, her backpack slung over one shoulder. What was that about? She asked. I looked at my little sister, brilliant, beautiful, deserving of so much more than this cramped apartment and second-hand everything. A chance, I said quietly. Maybe. I showed up at Roman's house at 6:58 p.m. The place was a masterpiece, all glass and modern architecture, perched on the waterfront with views that probably cost more than most people made in a lifetime. Joseph met me at the door. "Miss Ellis. Mr. Vale is waiting on the terrace." He led me through a house that felt more like an art gallery than a home. Everything was pristine, expensive, and utterly impersonal. No photos. No personal touches. Just cold perfection. The terrace overlooked Elliott Bay. The sun was setting, painting the water in shades of gold and crimson. And standing at the railing, silhouetted against the dying light, was Roman. He turned when he heard my footsteps. "Maya. You came." "You made it hard to refuse," I said, holding up the contract Catherine had left. His mouth quirked. "That was the idea." He gestured to a table set for two. Hungry. Starving. And confused. And a little angry. "Fair." He pulled out a chair for me. "Let's address all three." I sat today. He sat across from me. A private chef appeared. Apparently Roman didn't cook, and served something that looked like it belonged in a 5-star restaurant. I picked up my fork, then set it down. "Why are you doing this?" "The job offer. All of it. The security. The money. The dinner. You don't know me." Roman was quiet for a moment. Then he said, 3 years ago, my mother died. Cancer. I was at a board meeting when it happened. Didn't even make it to the hospital in time to say goodbye. My chest tightened. "I'm sorry," I whispered. "Everyone is. But no one means it." He looked at me. "Except you. When you said you were sorry about your mother last night, you meant it. Because you understand." "Loss," I said quietly. "Yes." He leaned back in his chair. "You know what it's like to fight and lose. To be helpless while someone you love dies. And you chose to channel that into saving people anyway. That's..." He paused, searching for words. "That's extraordinary." He'd crept up my neck. "I'm not extraordinary. I'm just trying to survive." "Then survive with me." The words hung between us. I met his eyes. "What aren't you telling me, Roman?" Catherine said things were worse than I imagined. Roman's jaw tightened. "We got the toxicology report this afternoon. The poison was aconite. Wolf's bane. Very rare, very deadly." "I know what aconite is," I said quietly. "It's not something you stumble across accidentally. No. It's something you plan carefully. Which means whoever tried to kill me has medical knowledge." He paused. "And access to my inner circle." "Your family," I breathed. "My family. My executives. My security team. Anyone close enough to tamper with my coffee that morning." "Your coffee?" I frowned. "Wait, you ordered black coffee at the cafe. How did someone poison it before you even?" "They didn't." Roman's expression turned grim. "I stopped at my office before the cafe. Had coffee there. The poison was in that cup. I just didn't collapse until you were in a public place with witnesses," I finished. "They wanted it to look natural. Or at least untraceable." "Exactly." My mind raced. "So someone knew your routine. Knew you'd stop at your office, then head to the cafe." "Yes." "That's a very small list of people. 4, to be exact." Roman pulled out his phone and showed me a photo. "For faces. My CFO, Vincent Corleone. My head of security, before Joseph, Nathan Wick. My brother Adrian. And my father, Jonathan." I stared at the faces of people who might want Roman dead. "Your own family." "My family tried to push me out of my own company last year. When that failed, Adrian started a smear campaign. My father cut me off financially when I was 20, said I needed to make my own way. I did. And I surpassed him. He's never forgiven me." The pain in his voice was carefully controlled. But it was there. So you trust no one, I said softly. I trust Joseph. He's new enough that he wasn't around when the poisoning happened. And I trust you. You don't even know me. I know you saved my life for no other reason than it was the right thing to do. In my world, Maya, that makes you practically a unicorn. Despite everything, I almost smiled. Then his phone buzzed. Roman glanced at it, and his entire body went rigid. What? I asked. What is it? He turned the phone toward me. It was a message. No number. Just words. You should have died. The girl is next. Below it, a photo. Of me. Standing outside my apartment building. Taken this morning. The world stopped. They know where I live, I whispered. Roman was already standing, phone to his ear. Joseph. We have a problem. But before Joseph could answer, every light in the house went out. Complete darkness. Roman grabbed my hand. Stay close to me. What's happening? Someone cut the power. His voice was deadly calm. Which means they're here. And then, from somewhere in the dark house, came the sound of breaking glass. Roman's hand tightened around mine as footsteps echoed through the darkened house. Multiple sets. Heavy. Professional. Kitchen, Roman whispered, pulling me backward. There's a safe room. We moved through the darkness, my heart hammering so loud I was sure whoever was hunting us could hear it. Roman navigated his own home with practiced ease, guiding me around furniture I couldn't see. Behind us, voices. Low. Coordinated. Second floor clear. Moving to the main level. They were searching. Room by room. We reached the kitchen. Roman released my hand for just a second, long enough to press something beneath the counter. A panel slid open silently, revealing a narrow passageway. Inside, he commanded. I didn't argue. The moment we were both through, the panel sealed behind us. Lights flickered on, dim, emergency lighting that cast everything in shades of red. We were in a reinforced room. Steel walls. Computer monitors. Weapons locked in a case on the far wall. Roman was already at the monitors, fingers flying across a keyboard. Security feeds popped up, night vision showing his house from multiple angles. 5 men. All armed. All moving with military precision. Joseph's on his way, Roman said, his voice tight. 3 minutes out. 3 minutes might as well have been 3 hours. On the monitors, I watched one of the intruders pause in the living room, right where Roman and I had been standing moments ago. They're professionals, I whispered. Yes. Roman's jaw clenched. Hired killers. Not my family's usual style, which means someone escalated. Because I saved you. He looked at me then, his blue eyes intense even in the red emergency lighting. Because they know you're a loose end. And because? He stopped. Because what? Because I made you visible. The job offer. The security detail. I painted a target on your back by associating you with me. Guilt flashed across his face, raw and genuine. This isn't your fault, I said firmly. Isn't it? Before I could answer, one of the monitors showed movement at the kitchen entrance. An intruder was examining the exact spot where the safe room panel had closed. He pressed against it. Tested it. Then pulled out a device from his tactical vest. He's got a thermal scanner, Roman said quietly. He'll find us in 30 seconds. My blood turned to ice. What do we do? Roman crossed to the weapons case, unlocking it with a fingerprint scanner. He pulled out 2 handguns, checked them with practiced efficiency, and handed one to me. Do you know how to use this? I stared at the weapon. No. Safety's here. Point and shoot if anyone comes through that door who isn't Joseph. Aim for center mass. He said it like he was giving me directions to the nearest coffee shop. On the monitor, the intruder's scanner started blinking. He'd found us. Roman. I know. He positioned himself in front of me, gun raised toward the door. Stay behind me. The panel began to slide open. I watched it happen in slow motion, the gap widening, revealing the dark kitchen beyond, the silhouette of a man with a weapon. And then Joseph appeared behind him like a ghost. One precise movement. The intruder dropped. Mr. Vale. Joseph's voice. Clear. Roman didn't lower his weapon. Confirmation code. Sierra 7 Tango 9. Only then did Roman relax, just slightly. How many? All 5 neutralized. 3 dead, 2 in custody. Joseph stepped into the safe room, his expression grim. We need to move. Now. There could be more. Roman grabbed my hand again. Where? Secondary location. Cars already running. We moved fast, through the house, past bodies I tried not to look at, out a side entrance I hadn't known existed. A black SUV idled in the driveway, another security guard at the wheel. Joseph pushed us into the back seat. Go. The SUV lurched forward, tires screaming as we tore down the driveway and onto the street. I couldn't breathe. Couldn't think. This was real. People had just died. People had tried to kill us. Maya. Roman's voice cut through my panic. Look at me. I turned. His face was inches from mine in the dim interior of the SUV. Breathe, he said quietly. In for 4. Out for 4. I followed his instructions, his eyes anchoring me. In. Out. In. Out. Slowly, my racing heart began to settle. Good, he murmured. You're okay. You're safe. Safe. A hysterical laugh bubbled up. Roman, people just tried to murder us. I know. And I'm going to find out who sent them. His voice turned cold. Lethal. And they're going to regret it. Joseph spoke from the front seat. We're taking you to the downtown safe house. It's off the grid, no one knows about it except me and 2 other guards I'd trust with my life. What about Zoe? I asked suddenly, panic spiking again. My sister. Already extracted, Joseph said. Team picked her up from your apartment 10 minutes ago. She's safe. Relief flooded through me. Where is she? Same safe house. You'll see her in 15 minutes. I sagged back against the seat, adrenaline finally crashing. My hands were shaking. My whole body was shaking. Roman reached over and took my hand. I should have pulled away. Should have been angry that his world had crashed into mine and brought killers with it. But his hand was warm. Steady. Real. So I held on. The safe house was a penthouse apartment in a nondescript building downtown. Top floor. Reinforced windows. Security cameras everywhere. The moment we walked in, Zoe launched herself at me. Maya. She was crying, her whole body trembling. They came to the apartment, men with guns. They said I had to come with them or you'd die. I'm here, I whispered, holding her tight. I'm okay. We're both okay. Over her shoulder, I saw Roman watching us. Something in his expression cracked, just for a moment. Longing. Loss. Something that looked almost like envy. Joseph cleared his throat. I'll post guards outside. No one gets in without clearance. Roman nodded. Thank you. When Joseph left, it was just the 3 of us. Me. Zoe. And a billionaire who'd brought chaos into our lives. I should go, Roman said quietly. Give you space. No. The word came out before I could stop it. Stay. Please. He looked surprised. Why? Because despite everything, the danger, the fear, the absolute insanity, I felt safer with him here. Because we need answers, I said instead. And because Zoe deserves to know what's happening. Roman nodded slowly. He sat in the chair across from us, looking suddenly exhausted. Someone wants me dead, he said, addressing Zoe directly. Your sister saved my life. Now they see her as a threat. And by extension, they see you as leverage. Zoe's eyes widened. So this is because Maya helped you? Yes. That's insane. Yes, Roman agreed. But it's the reality. Until we find out who's behind this, you're both in danger. I have resources. Security. Safe houses. I can protect you. But it means your lives change. Dramatically. Zoe looked at me. What do you want to do? What did I want? I wanted to go back to 3 days ago when my biggest problem was making rent. But that life was gone. Shattered the moment Roman Vale collapsed on that cafe floor. I want to fight, I heard myself say. I want to find whoever did this and make sure they can't hurt anyone else. Roman's eyes flashed with something fierce. Approval. Respect. Then we fight together, he said. Zoe took a shaky breath. Okay. But I have one condition. Name it, Roman said. You keep my sister safe. No matter what. Promise me. Roman looked at me. Then back at Zoe. I promise, he said. On my life. And somehow, I believed him. Later, after Zoe had fallen asleep in one of the bedrooms, Roman and I sat in the living room. The city glittered beyond the windows, all oblivious, beautiful, dangerous. I meant what I said earlier, Roman said quietly. This is my fault. I should have kept you at a distance. You tried. I said no, remember. I could have insisted. I'm not great at being told what to do. The corner of his mouth lifted. Almost a smile. I've noticed. Silence settled between us. Comfortable, despite everything. Can I ask you something? I said. Always. Why don't you trust anyone? Really? Is it just your family? Roman was quiet for a long time. Then, when I was 16, my best friend, only friend, really, leaked confidential information about my father's company to the press. For money. $20,000. That's what my friendship was worth to him. My chest ached. Roman. I learned early that everyone has a price. Everyone wants something. Money. Power. Access. He looked at me. Except you. You just wanted me to live. That's not nothing, I whispered. No, he agreed. It's everything. The air between us shifted. Charged. His eyes dropped to my mouth for just a second before snapping back up. I should let you rest, he said, standing abruptly. But I stood too, closing the distance between us. Roman. He went very still. Thank you, I said softly. For protecting Zoe. For all of it. You saved my life, Maya. This is the least I can do. It's more than that. I reached up, my hand hovering near his face. Isn't it? His breath hitched. For one endless moment, we stood there a breath apart, the world holding still. Then his phone buzzed. He stepped back, the spell broken, and checked the message. His expression went deadly. What? I asked. He showed me the screen. It was a photo. Recent. Of Roman's brother Adrian. Standing with Vincent Corleone, the CFO. Both of them shaking hands with a known crime boss. The message below read, "Found your traitors." What now? Roman's eyes were ice. Now, he said softly. Now we end this. The confrontation happened in Roman's downtown office at midnight. Adrian Vale walked in flanked by lawyers, his expression smug. Vincent Corleone followed, his CFO mask firmly in place. They didn't know Roman had proof. They didn't know I was watching from the adjacent room through one-way glass, recording everything. And they definitely didn't know Joseph had 24 security personnel surrounding the building. Roman. Adrian's voice dripped false concern. Calling an emergency meeting at midnight? You're even more paranoid than usual. Roman sat behind his desk, utterly calm. Sit down, Adrian. I'd rather stand. That wasn't a request. Something in Roman's tone made Adrian pause. He Saturday. Vincent followed. Roman slid a folder across the desk. Adrian opened it. His face went white. Photos. Bank transfers. Meeting records. Everything connecting Adrian and Vincent to the crime boss, a man named Kozlov who specialized in corporate sabotage and assassination. This is... Adrian stammered. This is fabricated. You're trying to frame. The wire transfers came from your personal account, Roman said coldly. 3 payments. $1 million total. Payment schedule matches exactly with 3 attempts on my life. The coffee poisoning. A tampered brake line on my car last month that I didn't report. And tonight's home invasion. Vincent stood abruptly. I want my lawyer. Your lawyer is already here, Roman said. And he's advising you to cooperate fully if you want any chance of avoiding a murder-for-hire charge. Adrian's hands were shaking. You don't understand. Father, he said you destroy the family legacy. That you cared more about your tech empire than Vale blood. We had to stop you before. Before what? Roman's voice turned deadly quiet. Before I succeeded? Before I proved I was better than all of you. You've always been better. Adrian exploded, slamming his hands on the desk. Perfect Roman. Brilliant Roman. The son father actually respected even while pretending to hate you. Do you know what it's like living in your shadow? Knowing I'll never be enough. For a moment, just a moment, pain flashed across Roman's face. Then it was gone. So you tried to kill me, he said flatly. Multiple times. And when that failed, you went after Maya. An innocent woman whose only crime was saving my life. She wasn't supposed to be there, Vincent muttered. The cafe was supposed to be empty. Just you. Clean. Simple. Ice flooded my veins. They'd planned it. Down to the location. Roman's jaw clenched. Joseph. They're all yours. Security flooded in. Adrian and Vincent were cuffed before they could protest. As they were dragged out, Adrian looked back at Roman with pure hatred. This isn't over, he spat. Father will never let you win. Father, Roman said quietly, sent you to do his dirty work because he's too much of a coward to face me himself. That's not winning, Adrian. That's already losing. The door slammed shut. Silence. I walked out from the observation room. Roman stood with his back to me, staring out at the Seattle skyline. Roman. My brother tried to have me killed, he said, his voice eerily empty. My own blood. For money. For approval from a father who respects neither of us. I crossed to him, placing my hand on his shoulder. He flinched. Then leaned into the touch. I'm sorry, I whispered. Everyone's sorry. His voice cracked. No one actually cares. I care. He turned then, and the look on his face nearly broke me. Vulnerability. Raw and bleeding and absolutely real. Why? He asked. Why do you care about a man everyone else wants dead? Because I see you, I said. Not your money. Not your empire. You. The man who says please like it costs him something. Who protects my sister without being asked. Who's been hurt so many times he can't remember what trust feels like. A single tear tracked down his face. Roman Vale, billionaire, genius, Ice King, was crying. I reached up and wiped it away. "You're not alone anymore," I whispered. His hand came up, covering mine against his cheek. "Maya." And then he kissed me. It wasn't gentle. It was desperate. Broken. A drowning man gasping for air. I kissed him back with everything I had, all the fear, the adrenaline, the impossible connection that had been building since the moment our eyes met on that cafe floor. When we finally broke apart, both breathing hard, Roman pressed his forehead to mine. "This is dangerous," he whispered. "Everything about you is dangerous. I mean for you. If we do this, if we're together, the threats don't stop. They get worse. I know. You could walk away. Take Zoe. I'd set you up somewhere safe, somewhere far from all this." I pulled back enough to meet his eyes. "I'm not going anywhere," I said firmly. "We finish this. Together." Roman stared at me like I was something miraculous. Then his phone rang. Joseph's name flashed on the screen. Roman answered. "What?" I watched his expression change. Shock. Disbelief. "You're certain?" he asked. Joseph's response was too quiet for me to hear. Roman hung up, his face ashen. "What?" I demanded. "What is it?" "Adrian and Vincent weren't working alone," he said quietly. "Joseph just got a confession from Vincent. There was a fourth person involved. Someone who planned everything. Who paid Kozlov. Who orchestrated all of it." My heart stopped. "Who?" Roman's eyes met mine. "Your aunt," he said. "Catherine Strathairn." The world tilted. Catherine. The lawyer who'd brought me the job offer. Who'd seemed so professional, so trustworthy. Who had access to both Roman's world and mine. "No," I whispered. "That's impossible. She's your attorney." "Why would she?" "She's not my attorney," Roman said. "She works for my father. Has for 20 years. He sent her to offer you the job, to get you close to me. To make you trust us. And when the time was right." He didn't finish. He didn't have to. Catherine was going to kill us both. And she'd used me and my debt, my desperation, my love for Zoe, to do it. "Where is she?" I asked, my voice shaking with rage. Roman's expression turned lethal. "She's at your apartment," he said. "Waiting for Zoe to come home." We were 10 minutes too late. The safe house door was open when we arrived, security guards unconscious, not dead, but Catherine was professional enough to avoid murder charges if she could help it. Zoe was gone. I stood in the middle of the room, staring at the overturned chair, the scattered books, the phone smashed on the floor. My sister. My baby sister. Gone. Maya. Roman's voice was careful. Controlled. But I could hear the fury underneath. "We'll find her." "When?" My voice cracked. "When, Roman? Before Catherine kills her? Before she uses Zoe to get to us?" My phone buzzed. Unknown number. A video file. My hand shook so badly Roman had to take the phone from me and press play. Zoe appeared on screen, tied to a chair in some warehouse. Tear tracks on her face but her expression defiant. So brave. Too brave for a 14-year-old who should be worried about homework, not hostage situations. Catherine stepped into frame. "Hello, Maya," she said pleasantly, like we were having coffee. "I apologize for the dramatics, but you've become rather inconvenient. You see, Roman was supposed to die. Quietly. A tragic medical emergency. Instead, you saved him. Gave him a reason to dig deeper. To suspect family. To uncover things that should have stayed buried. Where is she?" I screamed at the phone, even though Catherine couldn't hear me. On screen, Catherine smiled. Jonathan Vale paid me very well to eliminate his son. $5 million. Enough to retire comfortably. But you've complicated things, Maya. So here's my offer: Roman surrenders himself to me within 2 hours, or your sister dies. Come alone. Tell anyone, police, FBI, more security, and I start mailing you pieces of her. The video cut to Zoe, fear finally breaking through her brave facade. Maya, don't let him, she was crying now. Just take care of yourself, please. The screen went black. A text followed immediately, address attached. 2 hours. Come alone or she dies. I couldn't breathe. Couldn't think. Roman was already on his phone. Joseph, I need. I ripped the phone from his hand and threw it across the room. No, I said. No police. No security. She said alone. Maya, if I go in alone, we both die. You understand that? I don't care. Yes, you do. She's all I have. The scream tore out of me, raw and broken. Zoe is everything, Roman. My whole world. I've sacrificed everything to keep her safe, and now she's. I collapsed. Just folded in on myself, the weight of it crushing me. Roman caught me before I hit the floor, pulling me against his chest. Listen to me, he said fiercely. We are going to get her back. But not by walking into a trap. Catherine wants me dead, yes, but she wants it clean. That's why she grabbed Zoe instead of killing her outright. She needs leverage. That gives us time. 2 hours isn't time. It's enough. He pulled back, gripping my shoulders, forcing me to meet his eyes. I have resources Catherine doesn't know about. People loyal to me, not my father. We can track her. Find Zoe. But I need you to trust me. Trust you. A hysterical laugh bubbled up. Roman, everyone around you ends up dead or in danger. Your own family wants you murdered. How can I? Because I love you. The words hung in the air like a thunderclap. I stared at him, speechless. I know it's insane, Roman continued, his voice rough. I've known you for 3 days. But you're the first person in 15 years who's seen me, really seen me, and didn't run. Who fought for me when any sane person would have walked away. I love you, Maya. And I am not letting Catherine Strathairn take away the 2 people in this world I actually care about. Tears streamed down my face. I love you too, I whispered. But if we don't save Zoe, we will. He stood, pulling me up with him. Joseph! Joseph appeared in the doorway, looking grim. So? Catherine sent an address. I need satellite imaging, heat signatures, building schematics, everything. And get Marcus, he stopped. Get Daniel and his tactical team. Tell them we move in 90 minutes. Joseph nodded and disappeared. Roman turned back to me. Catherine made a mistake. What mistake? She thinks I'll follow her rules. Play by her timeline. His expression turned cold. Calculating. But I didn't build a $9 billion empire by following anyone's rules. We're going to find your sister. And Catherine is going to regret the day she ever heard your name. I wanted to believe him. But as I watched Roman transform from the vulnerable man who'd kissed me into the ruthless billionaire the world feared, I realized something terrifying. We were about to go to war. And in war, not everyone makes it out alive. 73 minutes later, we stood outside the warehouse in Georgetown, an industrial area where screams wouldn't carry and blood washed away easily. Daniel Chen, head of Roman's private tactical team, outlined the plan through our earpieces. 3 entry points. Suppressed weapons. Non-lethal if possible, but priority is the hostage. Mr. Vale, Ms. Ellis, you stay in the vehicle until we confirm. No, Roman and I said simultaneously. Daniel's jaw tightened. Sir, with all respect. That's my sister in there, I said. I'm going in. And Catherine specifically demanded I come alone, Roman added. She'll be watching. If she doesn't see me, she might panic and kill Zoe out of spite. Daniel looked like he wanted to argue. Then he sighed. Fine. But you wear vests. And you follow my lead. Understood. We nodded. 5 minutes later, we approached the warehouse. Roman held my hand, one last moment of connection before everything went to hell. Whatever happens, he said quietly, know that meeting you was the best thing that ever happened to me. Don't, I whispered. Don't talk like we're not both walking out of here. He squeezed my hand. Then the warehouse door opened. And Catherine stood there, gun in hand, smiling like the devil. Right on time, she said. Come in, Roman. Let's finish this. The warehouse was a kill box. I saw it the moment we stepped inside, metal catwalks overhead, shipping containers creating blind corners, a single light illuminating the center where Zoe sat tied to a chair, eyes wide with terror. Maya, she screamed. Don't move. Catherine barked, her gun trained on Zoe's head. Another step and I paint the walls with her brain. I froze. Roman's hand tightened around mine, then released. Let the girl go, Catherine, he said calmly. This is between us. Is it? Catherine laughed. You still don't understand, do you? This was never about you dying, Roman. Jonathan doesn't want you dead, he wants you broken. He wants you to lose everything you care about. Your company. Your empire. And now. Her eyes slid to me. Your heart. My blood ran cold. Jonathan knows, I whispered. Of course he knows. He's had people watching Roman for months. Waiting for a weakness. And then you appeared, this nobody waitress who somehow made the Ice King feel something. Catherine's smile was vicious. So the plan changed. Roman doesn't just die. He watches everyone he loves die first. Starting with the girl. She cocked the gun. No. I lunged forward. The gunshot was deafening. But it didn't come from Catherine. It came from above. Daniel's sniper round hit Catherine's shoulder, spinning her sideways. Her gun clattered across the concrete. Chaos erupted. Tactical team members rappelled from the catwalks. Catherine dove behind a container, clutching her wounded shoulder, screaming into a radio I hadn't noticed. She's got backup. Daniel's voice crackled in my earpiece. For hostiles incoming from the east entrance. But I wasn't listening. I was running toward Zoe. Roman was right behind me, covering me with his body as bullets started flying. We reached Zoe together, Roman shielding us both while I worked frantically at the ropes binding her wrists. I've got you, I gasped. I've got you, baby. Maya, behind you. I spun. One of Catherine's men had broken through Daniel's line, weapon raised, aimed directly at my chest. Time slowed. I saw his finger tighten on the trigger. Saw Roman's eyes widen in horror. And then Roman threw himself in front of me. The bullet hit him square in the chest. He went down hard. Roman! I dropped beside him, hands immediately going to the wound. Blood. So much blood. But then I felt it, the vest. The bullet had hit the vest. Roman coughed, gasping for air, ribs probably cracked but alive. I'm okay, he wheezed. Get Zoe out. Not without you. Another gunshot. The hostile who'd shot Roman dropped, Daniel's work. We need to move. Daniel shouted, suddenly beside us. Catherine's calling in more men, this place is about to be swarming. Roman struggled to his feet, one arm wrapped around his ribs. Zoe? Free, I said, helping my sister stand. She was shaking but unhurt. Exit's compromised, Daniel said. We go up. There's a roof access on the north side. We ran. Bullets pinged off metal around us as we climbed a rusted ladder to the catwalks. Below, I could see Catherine being dragged away by one of her men, screaming about how this wasn't over. But we didn't stop to listen. We reached the roof just as 3 black vans screeched into the warehouse parking lot below. Jonathan's private security, Roman said grimly. He's ending this personally. A helicopter appeared overhead, Daniel's extraction. We climbed in, lifting off just as Jonathan Vale's men stormed the warehouse. As Seattle fell away beneath us, I held Zoe close with one hand and gripped Roman's hand with the other. He was pale. Hurting. But alive. We were all alive. It's not over, Roman said quietly, staring down at the warehouse. My father won't stop. Then neither will we, I said fiercely. He looked at me, something fierce and tender in his eyes. No, he agreed. We won't. We landed at a private airfield 30 minutes later. Joseph was waiting with new vehicles, fresh clothes, and a grim expression. Adrian and Vincent are cooperating with the FBI, he reported as we climbed into the SUV. They've given statements implicating Jonathan in conspiracy to commit murder. Federal warrants being drawn up as we speak. Roman nodded. And Catherine? In the wind. She got away in the chaos. My stomach dropped. So she's still out there. Not for long, Roman said coldly. I've got every resource I have looking for her. She won't hide forever. Zoe, wrapped in a blanket, looked between us. So what now? We just wait? Hope she doesn't come back. No, Roman said. He turned to me. We go on a fence. My father wanted to break me by taking away what I love. Instead, he showed me exactly what I'm fighting for. His hand found mine. We're going to destroy his empire. Piece by piece. And when he has nothing left, when he's lost everything the way he tried to make me lose everything, then he'll understand what he created when he came after my family. The word hung in the air. Family. Me. Zoe. Roman. Against the world. I'm in, I said. Zoe nodded. Me too. Roman's expression softened. Just slightly. Then let's finish this. 3 days later, Roman declared war. Not with guns or violence, that was his father's language. Roman fought with something far more devastating, information. We worked from a secure location, a penthouse in Vancouver that nobody knew about, not even most of Roman's inner circle. Just me, Zoe, Roman, Joseph, and Daniel's handpicked security team. And a forensic accountant named Liu who looked like she survived on coffee and revenge. Your father's empire is built on sand, Liu announced, spreading documents across the conference table. Offshore accounts. Shell companies. Tax fraud going back 15 years. And this, she pulled up a file on the screen. He's been embezzling from the original Vale family trust. The one that belongs to you and Adrian. Roman leaned forward, his eyes sharp despite the bruising still visible on his ribs. How much? 200 million. Over 8 years. I whistled low. Even Zoe's eyes went wide. That's enough for federal charges, Joseph said. RICO statutes. He'd be looking at 20 years minimum. No, Roman said quietly. Prison's too easy. He'd still have power. Connections. Money hidden away. He looked at me. I want him to feel what he tried to do to me. I want him broken. I should have been disturbed by the cold calculation in his voice. Instead, I understood it completely. So we don't just expose the fraud, I said slowly. We dismantle everything. The company. The reputation. The legacy he's spent 50 years building. Roman's smile was razor-sharp. Exactly. Over the next 48 hours, we orchestrated something beautiful and terrible. Liu leaked the financial documents to the SEC, the IRS, and 3 major news outlets simultaneously. By morning, Jonathan Vale's face was on every news channel, not as the respected real estate mogul, but as a criminal. Daniel tracked Catherine to a private estate in the San Juan Islands, one of Jonathan's properties, confirming she'd been working with him all along. FBI picked her up within hours. Her cooperation in exchange for a reduced sentence gave us even more ammunition against Jonathan. And Roman, brilliant, ruthless Roman, called an emergency board meeting of Vale Industries, Jonathan's company. The empire he'd built before Roman had even been born. The same company whose board Roman had been quietly buying shares in for the past 3 years. I now control 43% of Vale Industries, Roman announced to the assembled board members via video conference. We watched from Vancouver as their faces went pale on the screen. Combined with the shares held by my mother's trust, which transferred to me upon her death, I have controlling interest. Effective immediately, I'm voting to remove Jonathan Vale as CEO and chairman. All in favor? The vote was unanimous. Jonathan Vale lost his own company in under 5 minutes. I watched Roman's face as it happened. Expecting triumph. Vindication. Instead, I saw only exhaustion. It's done, he said quietly when the call ended. Joseph stepped forward. FBI's picked up Jonathan at his estate. He's being arraigned tomorrow. Between Catherine's testimony, Adrian's cooperation, and the financial evidence, prosecutors are confident about a conviction. Roman nodded. Said nothing. The room slowly emptied until it was just me and him. I crossed to where he stood by the window, looking out at Vancouver's skyline. You won, I said softly. Did I? His voice was hollow. My brother tried to kill me. My father orchestrated it. My family is destroyed. What exactly did I win, Maya? I took his hand. You won your life. Your freedom. A future that isn't controlled by people who hurt you. He turned to me, and I saw tears in his eyes. I wanted him to love me, he whispered. That's the pathetic truth. Even after everything, after years of his coldness, his cruelty, some part of me still wanted my father to be proud. To see me. His voice cracked. To choose me. My heart shattered. I pulled him into my arms, and Roman Vale, the man who'd built empires and toppled enemies, broke. He cried into my shoulder like a lost child, grieving the father he'd never really had, the family that had never truly been his. I've got you, I murmured, holding him tight. You're not alone anymore. You have me. You have Zoe. We're your family now. Promise? His voice was so small. I promise. We stayed like that for a long time, the city lights twinkling below us, 2 broken people holding each other together. The trial took for months. Jonathan Vale was convicted on 17 counts including conspiracy to commit murder, embezzlement, tax fraud, and racketeering. 73 years old, sentenced to 25 years in federal prison. Catherine got 15 years as part of her plea deal. Adrian, who'd cooperated fully, received 5 years probation and was permanently barred from serving on any corporate board. Vincent got 12 years. It should have felt like victory. Instead, it just felt like the end of something that had been rotting for decades. Roman and I attended the sentencing. Zoe stayed home with Joseph, she'd been through enough. As the judge read Jonathan's sentence, the old man's eyes found Roman's across the courtroom. For a moment, I thought I saw regret there. Then Jonathan looked away, and I realized it had just been a trick of the light. Some people were too broken to ever be fixed. Outside the courthouse, reporters swarmed us. Cameras flashing. Questions shouted. Mr. Vale. How does it feel to see your father convicted? Do you regret testifying against your own family? What's next for you? Roman ignored them all, his hand firmly clasped in mine, until we reached the waiting SUV. But before getting in, he turned back to face the cameras. My father made me believe that power was everything. That trust was weakness. That love was a liability to be exploited. His voice was clear, strong. He was wrong. The people who saved me, who stood by me when my own blood wanted me dead, they weren't powerful. They were good. And that's worth more than every dollar I've ever made. He looked at me. I'm done building empires alone, he said. From now on, I'm building something better. A family. A real one. Then he kissed me right there in front of every camera in Seattle. And I kissed him back, not caring about the photos that would be on every news site by nightfall. Because he was right. This, us, was worth more than anything. 2 weeks later, Roman made good on a promise I didn't even know he'd been planning. I came home to the new apartment. Roman had insisted we move somewhere safer, somewhere that was actually ours, to find Zoe practically vibrating with excitement. Maya. You have to see this. She dragged me to the kitchen table where a thick envelope Saturday. I recognized the letterhead immediately. University of Washington. School of Medicine. My hand shook as I opened it. Dear Ms. Ellis, we are pleased to inform you that your application for reinstatement to the UW Medical School has been approved. Additionally, you have been awarded the Elena Vale Memorial Scholarship, a full tuition scholarship established in honor of Roman Vale's late mother, covering all educational expenses for the duration of your medical education. I couldn't read the rest through my tears. Roman appeared in the doorway, leaning against the frame, watching me with soft eyes. I could barely speak. You did this. You saved my life, Maya. Let me give yours back. I crossed the room and threw my arms around him, crying into his chest. Thank you, I whispered. Thank you, thank you. You're going to be an incredible doctor, he murmured into my hair. The world deserves to have you saving lives. Not just mine. Zoe joined the hug, the three of us standing there in our kitchen, holding each other like we could anchor ourselves against any storm. So what happens now? Zoe asked. Maya goes back to school, you run your company, do we just go back to normal? Roman and I looked at each other. There is no normal anymore, I said. But maybe we build something better. Together, Roman added, his hand finding mine. Together, I agreed. 6 months later, I started medical school. It was brutal, everything I remembered and worse. Long hours, impossible workloads, the constant pressure of knowing that one day, lives would depend on what I learned in these classrooms. But I'd never been happier. Roman adjusted his work schedule to be home when I needed him. Hired a tutor for Zoe so I didn't have to worry about her homework. Quietly paid off my old student loans so I could start fresh. He gave me everything I needed to succeed. And I gave him something he'd never had, a home. Not a house, he had plenty of those. But a home. A place where he was loved not for his money or his power, but for who he was beneath all of it. The brilliant, wounded, fierce man who'd learned to trust again. Who'd learned to love. We had family dinners every Sunday, me, Roman, Zoe, and Joseph, who'd become something like an uncle to Zoe. We played board games and argued about movies and slowly, painfully, beautifully built something real. Sometimes, late at night when I was studying and Roman was working in his home office, he'd come find me. Pull me away from my textbooks. Hold me like I might disappear. I love you, he'd whisper. I'll never stop being grateful you walked into my life. I didn't walk, I'd remind him. You collapsed, remember? Best decision I ever made. That wasn't a decision, Roman. That was poisoning. Semantics. And we'd laugh, the darkness of how we'd met transforming into something lighter with time and distance. The scars were still there. Roman still had nightmares sometimes about his family's betrayal. I still woke up in cold sweats, remembering Catherine's gun pointed at Zoe's head. But we had each other. And that made all the difference. 2 years later. The morning of my medical school graduation, I woke up to the smell of pancakes burning. I smiled before I even opened my eyes. Roman Vale, billionaire, tech mogul, genius businessman, could not cook to save his life. But that never stopped him from trying on special occasions. I padded into the kitchen of our home, a beautiful house on Mercer Island with enough bedrooms for Zoe to have her own space, a study for my medical texts, and an office for Roman's endless video conferences, and found controlled chaos. Roman stood at the stove, flour somehow in his hair, flipping what might generously be called pancakes. Zoe sat at the island, filming him on her phone, laughing so hard she was crying. "You're supposed to flip them before they turn black," she said between giggles. "I'm creating a rustic aesthetic," Roman replied with dignity that was completely undermined by the smoke alarm suddenly blaring. I crossed the kitchen, hit the alarm off, and wrapped my arms around Roman from behind. "Good morning, chef," I said, kissing his shoulder blade. He turned in my arms, and the smile he gave me still made my heart skip after 2 years together. "Good morning, Dr. Ellis," he said softly. "Not a doctor yet. That's tonight." Semantics. You passed all your exams. Matched into your top residency program. You're basically a doctor. Roman, that's not how. He kissed me, cutting off my protest. When he pulled back, his eyes were soft. Proud. So full of love it took my breath away. "I'm so proud of you," he whispered. "You know that, right?" "I know." I touched his face. "I couldn't have done it without you." "Yes, you could have. But I'm glad you didn't have to." "Okay, you two are disgustingly cute and I'm 16, so can we not?" Zoe interjected, making dramatic gagging sounds. Roman laughed and released me, returning his attention to the pancakes. "How many do you want, Zoe?" "However many aren't charcoal." "So, none." Basically. I took over cooking duties while Roman and Zoe bickered affectionately. This was my life now. This warmth. This family we'd built from broken pieces. My phone buzzed with messages. "Gus, good luck tonight, kid. Knew you'd make it. Coffee's on the house for life. Joseph, congratulations, Dr. Ellis. The family is proud. Liu, you did it. Drinks on me next week." And one that made me pause. "Adrian Vale, I know I have no right to contact you. But I wanted to say congratulations. And thank you for giving my brother something I never could, a family. He deserves it. I showed it to Roman. He read it, his jaw tightening briefly, then relaxing. "He's been in therapy," Roman said quietly. "Joseph keeps me updated. Adrian's trying to make amends. Become someone better. Do you think you'll ever forgive him?" Roman was quiet for a long moment. "I don't know. Maybe someday. But not today." I nodded. That was fair. Some wounds took time to heal. Some never fully did. But you could still build a beautiful life around the scars. The graduation ceremony was held at Benaroya Hall, the same venue where the Seattle Symphony performed. Hundreds of medical students in caps and gowns, families filling every seat. I sat with my classmates, but my eyes kept finding Roman and Zoe in the audience. 5th row, center. Roman in a perfectly tailored suit, Zoe in a dress she'd picked out herself, both of them beaming. When my name was called, Maya Ellis, Doctor of Medicine, I walked across that stage with my head high. I'd done it. Despite everything. Despite loss and grief and trauma and people literally trying to kill me. I'd become a doctor. As the dean placed the hood over my shoulders, I thought of my mother. Wished she could see this. Knew somehow that she could. I did it, Mom. I finally did it. The audience applauded, but all I heard was Roman and Zoe are standing, cheering louder than anyone else, completely unself-conscious about making a scene. I laughed through my tears and waved at them. My family. The celebration afterward was at our house. Nothing huge, just the people who mattered. Joseph brought his wife and kids. Liu came with her girlfriend. Gus showed up with a case of champagne and stories about the time I'd accidentally served decaf to a caffeine addict who'd threatened to sue. Daniel and his team sent a video message from wherever they were on assignment, congratulating me and threatening Roman that if he ever hurt me, they knew how to disappear a body. Even Catherine's former assistant, a sweet woman named Rachel who'd had no idea what Catherine was planning, sent flowers with a note about how inspired she was by my journey. As the evening wound down and guests filtered out, I found myself on our back deck, looking out at Lake Washington. Roman joined me, wrapping a blanket around my shoulders. Tired? He asked. Exhausted? Happy? Overwhelmed? All of it. He pulled me against his chest, and we stood there in comfortable silence, watching the sunset paint the water in shades of amber and rose. I have something for you, Roman said eventually. Roman, you've already given me everything. Not everything. He reached into his pocket and pulled out a small velvet box. My breath caught. Before you panic, he said quickly, this isn't an engagement ring. We've talked about taking things slow, and I respect that. This is something else. He opened the box. Inside was a delicate necklace, a simple gold chain with a small pendant. The pendant was shaped like a heartbeat on an EKG monitor, the rhythm line forming the outline of a heart. It's beautiful, I whispered. The heartbeat is mine, Roman said softly. From that day in the cafe. I had the paramedic report pulled, this is the exact rhythm your CPR created. The rhythm that saved my life. His voice grew thick with emotion. I wanted you to have it. A reminder that you're the reason my heart beats at all. Tears spilled down my cheeks. Roman. I know we're taking things slow. I know marriage is a conversation for another day. But I need you to know, he turned me to face him, his hands gentle on my shoulders. You're it for me, Maya Ellis. My future. My home. My family. Whenever you're ready, if you're ever ready, I'll be here. Waiting. Hoping. Loving you with everything I have. I couldn't speak past the lump in my throat. So I kissed him instead. Poured everything I felt into that kiss, gratitude, love, hope, forever. When we finally broke apart, I turned around so he could fasten the necklace. His fingers were gentle against my neck. The pendant settled perfectly over my heart. I love you, I whispered. I love you too, he murmured against my hair. More than I thought I could love anything. We stood there as the sun set completely, the lights of Seattle twinkling to life across the water. Behind us, through the glass doors, I could see Zoe in the living room, doing homework at the table with music playing from her laptop. Joseph was helping her with something, probably math, his patient voice carrying faintly. This was my life. Chaotic. Beautiful. Hard one. Perfect in its imperfection. Hey, Roman. I said. Yeah? Ask me again. About the marriage thing. Not now. But someday. When the time is right. I felt him smile against my hair. Yeah? Yeah. Can I get a timeline on someday? I laughed. That's not how someday works. I'm a planner, Maya. I like concrete details. Fine. Sometime between tomorrow and 50 years from now. That's a very wide window. Then I guess you'll just have to be patient. Patience, he mused. That's not really my strong suit. You waited for me to finish medical school. True. I can be patient when it matters. He turned me around again, his eyes searching mine. And you matter more than anything. My heart swelled so big I thought it might burst. Okay, I said impulsively. Ask me now. Roman blinked. What? Ask me now. Because I already know my answer. I've known it since you kissed me in your office 2 years ago. Maybe even before that. So ask me, Roman Vale. His eyes widened. Then his whole face transformed, hope and joy and love radiating from him like light. He dropped to one knee right there on our deck, still holding my hands, no ring because this wasn't planned, just raw and real and perfectly us. "Maya Ellis," he said, his voice shaking. "Will you marry me? Will you let me spend the rest of my life loving you, supporting you, annoying you with my terrible cooking and my need to plan everything? Will you be my family, officially and forever?" "Yes," I said, pulling him up and into my arms. "Yes, yes, 1,000 times yes." He lifted me off my feet, spinning me around, both of us laughing and crying. The glass door slid open and Zoe stuck her head out. "Are you guys?" She stopped, taking in the scene. Her eyes went wide. "Oh my God. Did you just? We're getting married," I announced, still in Roman's arms. Zoe screamed, actual screaming, and launched herself at us. Joseph appeared behind her, took one look at our faces, and smiled. "Congratulations," he said warmly. "Both of you." "Joseph, you're giving her away, right?" Roman said. "At the wedding." I looked at Joseph, this man who'd protected us, guided us, become family. His eyes got suspiciously bright. "It would be my honor." Zoe was bouncing. "Can I be the maid of honor? Please? I promise I won't embarrass you." "Much." "Okay, I'll definitely embarrass you, but in a loving way." I hugged her tight. "Of course you're my maid of honor. Who else would it be? And I'm planning the bachelorette party," she announced. "It's going to be epic." "You're 16, Roman pointed out. "So? I'm mature for my age." "Maya, tell him I'm mature. You're filming TikTok dances in the living room at midnight. That's called work-life balance, Maya. Look it up." We all laughed, the sound carrying out across the water. This was everything. Not the money or the house or the degrees. This moment. This family. This love. Everything I'd fought for. Everything I'd almost lost. Everything I'd found in the most unexpected way by saving a stranger's life in a cafe on a rainy Tuesday morning. 6 months later. The wedding was small. Intimate. Just the people who mattered. We held it at sunset on our back deck, the one where Roman had proposed. White flowers everywhere, string lights creating a canopy of stars. Zoe stood beside me in a deep blue dress, crying happy tears and trying to pretend she wasn't. Joseph walked me down the makeshift aisle, his arm steady, his pride evident. And at the end of that aisle stood Roman. He wore a perfectly tailored tuxedo, but what I noticed was his expression, pure, unfiltered love. When I reached him, Joseph placed my hand in Roman's. "Take care of her," Joseph said quietly. "With my life," Roman promised. The ceremony was simple. We wrote our own vows. Roman went first, his voice steady despite the emotion in his eyes. "Maya, you saved my life before you knew my name. You fought for me when my own family wanted me dead. You taught me that trust isn't weakness, it's strength. That love isn't a liability, it's everything. I promise to spend every day of our lives together earning the gift you gave me. Your love. Your faith. Your incredible, stubborn, beautiful heart. I love you. Today. Tomorrow. Always." I was crying before he finished. Then it was my turn. "Roman, when I met you, I was surviving. Just barely. You taught me how to live again. How to dream bigger than just making it through another day. You gave me back my future. But more than that, you gave me a home. Not in a place, but in you. In us. I promise to love you through every success and every failure. To build you up when the world tears you down. To be your partner, your best friend, your family. Forever." "Forever," he echoed softly. The officiant pronounced us married. Roman kissed me like I was oxygen and he'd been drowning. Our small group of guests erupted in cheers. Zoe Wolf whistled, which made everyone laugh. And as we turned to face our family, our friends, our future, I felt something settle deep in my soul. Peace. Not because life would be easy, it wouldn't be. Not because we wouldn't face more challenges, we absolutely would. But because I wasn't facing any of it alone anymore. I had Roman. I had Zoe. I had Joseph and Liu and Gus and this beautiful, chaotic, perfectly imperfect family we'd created. I had everything. 1 year after that. Dr. Ellis, we need you in Trauma Bay 3. I ran down the hospital corridor, my white coat flying behind me, adrenaline already pumping. My first year of residency at Harborview Medical Center, the same hospital where I'd volunteered as a pre-med student a lifetime ago. I burst into the trauma bay to find controlled chaos. Paramedics wheeling in a patient. Nurses calling out vitals. Blood everywhere. 23-year-old male, motorcycle accident, massive internal bleeding. I stepped forward, hands already moving, muscle memory and training taking over. This was what I was meant to do. Save lives. Fight death. Give people the second chance I'd given Roman. 6 hours later, exhausted and running on fumes, I finally clocked out. My phone showed 3 missed calls from Roman and a text. Roman, I know you're saving lives and being incredible. Dinner's waiting when you get home. I love you. Your husband, I'll never get tired of saying that. I smiled, my exhaustion melting away. Grabbed my things and headed home. Roman was in the kitchen when I arrived, actually successfully making pasta this time, though I could see he'd had help from the meal kit service I'd subscribed him to. He looked up when I walked in, and his smile was everything. There's my brilliant wife, he said. How was your day? Saved 3 lives. Lost 1. I struggled to find words. He crossed to me, pulled me into his arms. I know. And he did. That was the beautiful thing. We'd both learned what it meant to lose. To fight. To survive. I'm proud of you, he murmured into my hair. Even when I come home smelling like the hospital. Especially then. I pulled back to look at him. 2 years of marriage. 3 years since that day in the cafe. He still looked at me like I hung the moon. I have news, I said. His eyebrows rose. Good news or bad news? Depends on your perspective. Maya. I took his hand and placed it on my stomach. Watched his expression cycle through confusion, then understanding, then absolute wonder. You're or we're, he couldn't even finish the sentence. Pregnant, I confirmed, tears already streaming. 8 weeks. I wanted to be sure before I told you. Roman's face crumpled with joy. He dropped to his knees, pressing his forehead against my stomach. Hi, baby, he whispered. I'm your dad. I'm going to mess up a lot, but I'm going to love you so much. You and your mom, you're my whole world. I ran my fingers through his hair, my heart so full I thought it might explode. We're having a baby, I whispered. We're having a baby, he repeated, standing up and cupping my face. We're having a baby. Then he kissed me, soft and reverent, like I was something precious. Because to him, I was. And he was to me. 3 years after that. Mommy. Daddy. Look what I made. I looked up from the medical journal I was reading, now an attending physician in emergency medicine, still loving every chaotic moment, to see our daughter Elena racing across the backyard. 3 years old. Dark curls like mine. Blue eyes like Roman's. Personality that was pure chaos. She held up a drawing, mostly scribbles, but she was very proud. It's beautiful, baby, I said, pulling her onto my lap. Tell me about it. That's you, she pointed to a stick figure. And that's Daddy. And that's me. And that's Aunt Zoe. We're a family. We certainly are, Roman said, appearing from the house with lemonade. He was working from home more these days, had restructured his entire company to prioritize family time. The man who'd once worked 80-hour weeks now made it to every bedtime story, every dance recital, every moment that mattered. Zoe emerged from the house too, home from college for the summer, already applying to medical schools because I'd apparently inspired her. "There's my favorite niece," she said, scooping Elena up. "I'm your only niece," Elena giggled. "Which makes you my favorite by default. Come on, let's go find bugs in the garden." They ran off, Elena's laughter echoing. Roman sat beside me, pulling me close. "Happy?" he asked softly. I looked around at our life. The house filled with love and laughter. The daughter we'd created. The sister who'd become an incredible young woman. The career I loved. The man I'd built it all with. "Incredibly," I said. "You? More than I ever thought possible." He kissed my temple. "You know what today is?" I thought back. Tuesday? 6 years ago today, I walked into the Seabrook Café. My breath caught. You remember the exact date? Maya, I remember everything about that day. What you were wearing. How your hands felt on my chest. The way you said my name. It was the day my life changed. The day I met my soulmate. Tears pricked my eyes. Roman Vale, you're going to make me cry. Good tears? The best tears. He pulled a small box from his pocket. I laughed. What is this? You already married me. Anniversary gift. 6 years since we met deserves celebrating. Inside was a charm for the necklace he'd given me, a tiny stethoscope. For Dr. Ellis, he said softly. The woman who saves lives every day. Starting with mine. I added it to the chain that also held the heartbeat pendant, the tiny E for Elena, and the infinity symbol he'd given me on our first wedding anniversary. My life in charms. My journey in gold and love. Thank you, I whispered. For everything. For seeing me. For loving me. For building this life with me. Thank you, he countered, for saving me. In every possible way. We kissed, soft and sweet, the sounds of our daughter's laughter carrying from the garden. This was everything I'd ever dreamed of. Everything I'd fought for. Everything I'd almost lost. A life full of love, purpose, family, and hope. And it had all started with a single choice. To help a stranger. To fight for a life. To believe that even in the darkest moments, there was always hope. Always a chance. Always love waiting on the other side of fear. I'd saved Roman Vale's life in that cafe 6 years ago. But the truth was simpler and more beautiful than that. We'd saved each other. The end. I'm crying. Are you crying? Drop a comment and tell me your favorite moment from this journey. Maya and Roman's story is complete, but your journey with this channel is just beginning. If you loved this story, subscribe for more emotional, twist-filled tales that will keep you hooked. Share this with someone who needs to believe in second chances and unexpected love. Until next time, beautiful souls, keep believing in the magic of connection, the power of courage, and the beauty of love that saves us. Red Heart Hash.